We had famous people, we have war heroes, and I'm here to represent the regular folk, right? Just the big dumb animals trying to get through life. As Michael mentioned, I am the president of F3 Nation, F3 in the house. You heard him. It's like that all the time. So they're giving me crap because this morning I was asking them the mission of F3. And if they couldn't say it fast enough, or if they didn't get it quite right, they had to do burpees for penalties. And so I'll just tell you, the mission of F3 is to plant, grow, and serve small men's workout groups in order to invigorate male community leadership. Half a burpee? All right, that'll do. And so what's the, why men and why now? So I'll just give you a quick primer. Who's heard of F3 besides the obnoxious guys? Okay, so we got a few, right? And so 11 years ago, there were a couple of guys who just wanted to, get in a fitness group and start getting back in shape. One of them was a Green Beret, and he had not been able to experience consistent fitness in his life after he left the military. And so he was looking for a workout group. So he just decided to start one. And then pretty soon you realized as soon as you start getting men together and they start working out together, they get a little more confidence. They start looking a little better and start feeling a little bit about themselves. And they start getting some friends. Because it's tough. It's tough. Anybody in their 40s here? Right? It's tough. Like you leave college, you leave some of these things that you've had in your past life, and then pretty soon you look around and you go, I don't have any friends. I mean, I've got my kids are friends with those kids and their dad, and I guess he's my friend, right? I see him on the sideline at the soccer game. I guess that's my friend. Or my wife is really good friends with that wife, right? Well, I guess I'm attached to that dope. I don't know, right? And we stand around there, we're like, how you doing, man? And that's your life. So we changed things up a little bit, and Dave Redding, who's by the way, I'm not him. He was supposed to be here. And then he goes, you'll step into the breach. You'll be fine. A week ago. Thanks. Story of my life. Actually, that's kind of how I ended up in this position in the first place, right? I wasn't smart enough to say no. All I wanted to do was join a fitness group and not be fat anymore. That's all I was looking for, right? That was 50 pounds ago. And then I've learned some lessons and some things along the way that have made me 10 times the man, the father, the husband, and the brother that I could possibly have imagined on my own. So that's kind of what F3 is all about, is we take men, we pull them out of their comfort zones. You heard a little about that yesterday if you were listening to Michael's talk. And we give them a mission. We wake them up inside. We set them on a path to be great, because that's what we're here to do, right? We have, I don't know if you've noticed, we have a little bit of a lack of leadership in certain areas of our country and our world right now. And we're on a mission to fix that. We're on a mission to fix that. And not in like a we're here to take over kind of a way, but we want to have real virtuous leadership principles taught to men. We're tired of things like words like toxic masculinity. And we say, oh, well, we don't really believe that. We don't really believe that. We think that's just being toxic. I don't think it has. You could be a jerk and be a woman. You can be a jerk anybody, right? So we kind of reject that, and we say true masculinity, as we define it, is courageous love. That's the way we define it in F3. It's courageous love. It's like Earl was talking about earlier. It's not thinking about yourself. It's thinking about the men around you and doing what needs to get done to make them better. A couple of stories that I asked for from some guys. A man named Sanjit is visiting his family in India. He doesn't know it, but back at his house in Indianapolis, adversity has struck. A pipe on the side of his house has burst and water is shooting out all over the place, causing flooding. A man in eastern North Carolina named Brian has family in Texas that are facing major adversity, a crisis, if you will. His cousin's husband has been tragically killed in an automobile accident, leaving her and their 3 children behind. Another man named John in the western part of North Carolina was in the middle of probably the toughest adversity that he will ever face in his entire life. Having gone through a very tough divorce and finding himself in a very deep depression, he begins Googling things like how many like how many pills he'll need to take to end his life. How deep will he need to cut into his leg to hit his femoral artery and end it all? So he can bleed to death and just be done with it. The saying goes that there are only two guarantees in life, death and taxes, right? And I don't know if Ben Franklin would appreciate me amending that, but I will say, since you're in this session, right, that adversity is another one of those guarantees in life. You will not avoid it. You cannot circumvent it. No one will live an absolutely pain-free life. Fair? So every person alive on this planet has faced or will face varying levels of adversity and difficulty throughout their lives. That's a fact. And we see suffering around us all the time, don't we? We see wars, poverty, homelessness, hatred, evil of all kinds all over the place. And maybe it's maybe that's kind of global stuff, but maybe there's some personal stuff that's happening to you, right? Maybe it's job loss, mental illness, divorce, business, loss of a loved one, wayward teenagers, any number of those kinds of things. The temptation, though, on the part of many then is to find themselves in despair. And with all these problems everywhere around us, what are we going to do? So in F3, we have a term called Otis Bomb. And an Otis Bomb is when a man or a woman comes to you with a great idea and then sort of drops it in your feet and goes, hey, you should do something about that. And then they proceed to exit and not help you. It's kind of like when a guy farts on the elevator and then leaves and watches you watch the door close and he leaves you there to deal with that on your own. So Otis is an elevator maker, right? So we're very creative. So I'm just going to tell you 3 things that I think you need to do. And actually, there's nothing new under the sun, right? So some of the things that Earl already talked about are some of the same things that I'm going to mention as well. Because the truth is the truth, right? Step 1, embrace what is inevitable. Embrace what is inevitable. Often, the world reacts to hardship and the ensuing heartache that follows by seeking a zero despair, zero difficulty world, which sounds fine on paper until you realize that it's completely against the nature of this world. 100%. I contend, as many of you do, that it is not only not possible to create such a world, it's not even desirable to create such a world. Adversity, as it turns out, is a feature, not a bug in the system. It's by design that we have it in our lives. Part of what we've been put here for is to be tested and to be tried. It's in our natures. It's hardwired into us. If you've read his book or you heard his talk yesterday, Michael Easter wrote The Comfort Crisis, and it talks about some of those problems that are arising in our world from people trying to manufacture a life where there is zero adversity, where there is no pain, there is no discomfort. As he says, we walk from our 72-degree climate-controlled home, we get in our 72-degree climate-controlled car, then we walk to our next 72-degree climate-controlled, destination, right? The hardship is being programmed out of our lives. And that's what I love about what Jason is doing here and what Sandlot JAX is all about, what GoRuck is all about, what F3 Nation is all about, because that leads us to number 2, right? We want to walk past the hand wringers and we want to inoculate ourselves against adversity. That's number 2. First, you embrace what is inevitable. Second, you inoculate yourself against adversity. Just like any vaccine, you're going to need to take small doses of it in order to build up your resistance, right? In F3, we do something very strange. We get up early in the morning and we work out very hard, and it's outside all the time, no matter what. But it snows, you say. Haha, yes, it does. Work out anyway. Oh, but it is raining, you say. Yes, but you do it anyway. It doesn't matter because your external circumstances don't dictate your behavior. What's in your heart and your mind is what dictates your behavior. Amen? All right. I almost said I because I knew all those idiots was they would follow me, right? So if you heard about Misogi, we do something a little bit different. We call it a CSAUP. CSAUP, that's an acronym. It stands for completely stupid and utterly pointless. It serves really no other purpose other than to bond you to other men and put you through some sort of controlled adversity, to inoculate yourself against the things that will come at you, to make you more durable in mind and in body. That is super important. It's super important. So it might be things like a Go Ruck Tough or a Go Ruck Heavy. It might be a Savage Race, right? Like we've got out there. Or it could be, right now, there are men in St. Louis who are participating in a 24-hour beatdown, where men all over their area, and actually some on Zoom, so kind of across the country, are participating in this. And every hour, on the hour, for 45 minutes, someone is leading them in a horrifying boot camp style workout for 24 hours because they're idiots, right? I mean, that's the dumbest thing you've ever heard, isn't it? I'm going to stay up for 24 hours, and every hour on the hour, I'm going to work out for 45 minutes. You're going to sleep at all? Nope. You're going to eat? You got 15 minutes in between, right? Who knows? It doesn't matter. We do it because we want to push ourselves and see what we're really made of. We have to inoculate ourselves against adversity. Take those small doses of hardship to build up our resistance. And the last one, number 3, I think, maybe the most important, is to be, kind of like what Earl was talking about, to be in community. And I don't mean just hang out with people, right? I mean a community with a mission. A community that is driving you somewhere, that is taking you and moving you past yourself, past what you think you can do, and moving you in a direction toward a goal. You can't do this world, this life, alone. It is not possible. That's a pretty extreme statement, fella. Well, maybe. But it's what I believe to my absolute core. Believing that you can do this alone is one of the worst lies you're ever going to be told. Believing that you are strong enough on your own to do it by yourself, but I work out early in the morning and it's cold and I'm really tough. Okay, try it. Let me know how it works out for you. But I can tell you, because I've seen it in the lives of thousands upon thousands of other men, it doesn't work. It never will. It can't, because you're going against the design. The design is that we suffer adversity and we learn who we are, and then we learn how to be in community with other people on a mission. That's the design. I really believe that. And the only reason I believe that is not because I'm some kind of genius. It's because I watch it happen. It's highly observable in lots of places. And we spent almost 2 years now out of community with one another. And it's caused all kinds of problems that we'll deal with for decades to come. And I believe that's what F3 Nation is for. The first F, which is fitness, is just the magnet that draws men in, right? We trick you into thinking it's a workout. And then we're like, guess what? It's actually a leadership group, right? It's actually a place where men bond with other men. They become friends. And then they start to look and go, holy crap, there is something bigger than me out there. And I belong to it now. And we're on a mission to change something in a very real, tangible way. That's significant. There's not a ton of places that are doing that in the world. So our second F is fellowship, right? The first one's fitness. We draw you in, then we get you some friends. And then the third is faith. Now, a lot of times that makes people squirm, right? Maybe squeam. That's like a squirming scream. Yeah? I think that sounds fair. All that is for us, the third F, that faith, is just a recognition that you're part of something bigger than yourself. That you're not the king and or queen of the world. Fact. Right? So we put ourselves out there, and in order to have long-term success and overcoming the really hard things that we face in this life, that's what we have to do. We have to acknowledge that we're part of something bigger than ourselves, and we have to submit ourselves to that. And I think we also have to do what I will call from now on the Beatles Principle, and get by with a little help from our friends. All right? It's why we're here this weekend. It's why you've joined Ruck Clubs. It's why F3 continues to grow exponentially. As we bond in community with one another, we take on the power of others around us, and it multiplies our efforts and our resolve. The F3 Nation credo is that we leave no man behind, but we leave no man where we found him. I'll say it again. We leave no man behind, ever. but we leave no man where we found him. It's a strange kind of love that would leave a man in a lie. So if I look at you and I say, I think you can do better, believe me. I think you can push harder, believe me. I'm not trying to be a jerk. It's because I love you, and I know there's more in you. So those men we talked about in the very beginning, the F3 community is how Sanjit got his water fixed. An F3 brother was driving by, and he happened to see the geyser, and within minutes, he had deployed a team of F3 brothers to fix the problem. This guy's in India. He barely knew what was going on. The F3 community is how Brian was able to make one phone call to the regional leader in Texas, to a man he had never met or spoken to before that, and say, I have a family member in crisis. And before the hour was out, 5 men are ready to deploy to that house and to go and to help. Take them meals, mow the lawn, whatever has to happen to make it better for that family. The F3 community is why John is still alive. The day after he'd been Googling ways to die, he was invited to an F3 workout. He initially balked, saying, I will not get up that early in the morning for anything. His friend said that I'll be in your driveway at 5 a.m., so you can either be out there or your family will wake up and come out. You pick. So he showed up. And that push to be part of the community is what set John on the path toward healing and toward wholeness. He knew that he was cared for, that he was loved, that he was understood, and he'd never have to be alone again if he didn't want to. Embrace the inevitable, inoculate yourself against adversity, and be in community. Stephen Pressfield wrote a novel called The Profession. I'm going to read a quote from it because I think it really speaks to what we're trying to do in our community. It certainly speaks to the way that I feel about my community and the community of men that we're building to be virtuous leaders so that we can be a light in the world instead of a dark. They know I will eat my own liver before I will let them down. And they know that I will eat their livers if they give me or the team any less than their high-end max. I love them, and I tell them over and over. Thank you.